Sharing with you in this video 3 things blocking you from creating your goals and desires. And so really what I want to make really clear in this video is that no longer do you need to feel ever in your life that you feel like you have no power when a limitation is coming up. Because the truth is that we have all the power not to control the limitation not happening, but more importantly, where we place our attention. And I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to do this so that when those limitations come up, you're not over fixated on trying to control things that really you have no control over anyway, but then eventually gain mastery and control over what you actually have control over and the variables that are within your power. And so the first thing that I want to share with you in this video that may be blocking you from creating your goals and desires, and a lot of people are not going to want to tell you this, is believing that you are blocked to begin with. And again, most people won't want to give you this truth, because the truth is that even if you believe that you have a block at all, oftentimes that can create the block. Like, it's just a really powerful insight to see that the belief in the issue creates oftentimes the issue. So if you believe that you have a blockage, if you believe that there's something that has to be let go of and that it needs to be released and that there's something going on, it's like oftentimes maybe that might be true, but remember, it's the belief nonetheless. The belief in it nonetheless, no matter how true it is, it's the belief that makes it real. So oftentimes, if we can stop believing that we're blocked to begin with, and even if there is stuff that we have to let go of, which is totally valid, just remember that eventually you want to get to the end result and the end goal, which is of course being in a position where you no longer have any blocks. That should always be your ultimate end goal manifestation in this process, is believing that you are a person that no longer has any blockages, that has these problems already gone a long time ago. It's a natural part of your identity and existence to just not have any of these blockages in whatever area that you're even looking at, whether it's in your finances, whether it's in any of your relationships, whether it's in any area of your life of any kind. What you want to start to do is just see, where do you believe that you're blocked at all? And is it possible that the belief in the block is creating more of the problems than even the problem in of itself ever could have? Because it's like the problem might be there, but oftentimes, is it possible that maybe the belief in it is what creates all the suffering and all the resistance? And so the second thing that may be blocking you from creating your goals and desires, and again, most people won't really want to say this to you, but I'm just going to give you the truth right now, is that oftentimes it's not the desire itself that's a problem, it's the attachment to the desire. So I think that a lot of people can come at life from a sort of very hot and heavy perspective and say that desire is bad. It's bad to want things. And the truth is that I don't believe that to be the case. I don't think that there's anything wrong with desire. I think that if there's any spiritual beliefs that say that desire is a bad thing, that may be one perspective, but in my personal perspective, I think that, truthfully speaking, existence in of itself is grounded upon desire in a very powerful way. What you look at around you, every single part of your life, almost is like a manifestation of desire in of itself. Nothing can come forth without the desire for it to come forth. There has to be desire. And so desire means visualization, wants, needs, intentions, whatever might happen as a result of just your desire to exist. Even to exist in of itself is really a desire. You know what I mean? It's like you can choose not to exist, and that sounds sort of morbid to say, but nobody chooses that. We continue to live. There's a will to live. And not to say nobody, some people do of course feel so down and depressed that they do unfortunately feel the need to take their life. But remember, for the people that don't make that choice, what is it making you, what is motivating you to stay alive? What is keeping you alive? It's desire. It's the desire to stay alive. It's the desire to improve, to learn, to grow. And again, I don't mean to be negative or say something bad to make you feel upset about bringing up that other stuff that I just said. But the truth is that, ultimately speaking, everything is desire. Everything is coming as a result of you wanting to exist, wanting to learn, wanting to continue to improve. And none of these things are bad. In fact, it's the most exciting part of life that these things do exist. But what can become the problem, not to be too redundant and to get, too far into this other idea, is the attachment to it. That's the problem. So creation is not a problem. Wants is not a problem. Even needs are definitely not a problem. Whatever you want to create in your life is not a problem. The problem is when you get entangled in it. I think a good word to sort of describe this is hypnotized by it. Because hypnotized by a problem is almost a great word. I want you to really think about this. When you're in a dream at night and you're in a dream, you don't know that you're dreaming. You as consciousness have forgotten that you are the creator of the dream, right? So in a similar way, if you get hypnotized by your own desires in a daily life and you forget your grounded truth of who you are, your true nature, your true essence, the consciousness prior to form, consciousness prior to thoughts, emotions of any kind, anything that's prior to you say you are something, I am this, I am that, I am confident, or even I am sad, you have this sense of I exist. And so when you lose that sense of I exist, what I really believe is that attachment to form, that's what we call the ego. And when we have attachment to form and then you attach to, what we're going to call the ego, or really maybe a better word to say is attachment to the ego. That depends on really what you want to say. Different people have different definitions of different things, is what you'll find in life. But if we're going to see the core of the problem, however you want to define the ego, whether the ego is just your set of thoughts and ideas and emotions, whether you're identified with them or not, or whether the ego is truly something that is a result of identification with thoughts and emotions, however you want to describe it, the truth is that ultimately, without being any more redundant here, that the attachment is the problem. The attachment is the problem. We can define it in any way that you want, but when your consciousness gets attached to form, to thoughts, you can call it the ego, call it identification with thought, call it unconsciousness, call it whatever you want, that state is the problem. It's never the issue that's happening, which is the real issue. The real issue is the attachment to it. It's attachment to it. That's what creates, I believe, all the resistance and the upset and the more anger than necessary, more sadness than necessary, more resistance, more guilt, more shame. All these problems can be avoided if you let yourself feel guilt and shame once, just one time, and then let it pass by just like a cloud in the sky. There's no reason for you to keep recreating the same problems and the same challenges and the same issues over and over in your life. You can get to a point where things just sort of happen and you learn and you grow continuously every single day, but they're not necessarily just happening as well. They happen and you see that they're a result of your intentions, of the things that you're choosing. But at the same time, while all of this is happening, there's no attachment to it. It makes it so that you can play a little bit more with life, have fun a little bit more with life, not be so rigid, not be so dense. All the density, I think, is when you attach to it and you think it's so serious because you have lost yourself in it. You're hypnotized. You lost yourself, your true self, in the dream of life, so to speak, in the problems of life. And so that is not a conducive place to be in a creative space. It's not a conducive thing to be in a creative space, a creative flow. And so the third thing blocking you from creating your goals and desires, and again, a lot of people are not going to want to tell you this, not that nobody, but a lot of people won't, is that really the third thing is that if you're not willing to change or take risks, what's going to happen is that that's going to be a huge problem for you. So let me just show you this chart over here as well to really highlight this point. What I'm really saying is that if you stay in your comfort zone, if you're not willing to ever change out of your comfort zone, you're always going to be the same. And this is the blunt truth right here, because really most people don't want to really accept the fact that some level of uncomfortability is going to have to be possible. But the irony is that if you stay too comfortable in life, eventually that's going to be your own prison and be a high state of suffering. A little bit of stress is always good in my personal opinion, but not too much stress, as you can see in the danger zone, that now you feel like you're changing too much. Nobody's asking you to get into your panic zone. You know what I mean? It's like when you're creating something that you want, anything that you want in life, whatever your goal is, nobody's asking you to get into your danger zone. And if they are, I think that they don't have an understanding of the way that transformation works. If you want to understand the essence, the real essence of what it means to transform as a human being, then what you need to understand is that change is only going to come as a result of stepping into some state of discomfort. And that doesn't have to be a not exciting thing. In fact, it's the most exciting thing. Oftentimes, the most dense and boring and negative thing you can do is stay in your comfort zone. Is stay in that basic comfort, not changing, doing the same thing every single day, expecting a different result. That classic saying, right? Where did that saying come from? It comes from that natural byproduct of attachment to thought, which we can call the ego. We can call it just identification with thought. Again, whatever word resonates for you, collection of words resonate for you. What I'm pointing to is that attachment. And so when that attachment goes away, it becomes much easier to change, to take risks. So don't expect in your life that you're ever going to change, that you're ever going to transform if you don't change something about yourself and the way that you act. So let me just be blunt here. What got you to where you were, no matter how much you've leveled up, it doesn't matter how much you think you've changed. If you want to become better and change a little bit more, what got you to where you are now is not going to get you to the next level. If you want to get to the next level, again, you have to change something else about the way that you act or the way that you are or the way that you're being. Something has to change. It's not going to be that you're just able to be the same person, not transform, and then get a different result. The essence of getting a different result is the byproduct of transforming who you are. Oftentimes, we're so hyper fixated on the result, but what we're forgetting is who we are. If you focus on who you're being and the way that you're acting while you're creating what you want, that's going to be the essence that's going to help you to get the result. The result oftentimes is just a byproduct of committing to the daily actions and who you need to be to get the result in the first place. It's not about just how do I get the result, it's who do you become? Who do you need to become to make the result normal? Make it a normal part of your life. Getting a result in your life should never be, in my personal opinion, this crazy thing that makes you feel over emotional. Now, if you want to create that for yourself, a feeling of happiness and emotion, that's great. But you could also achieve the results that you want in your life and make them completely normal. Totally normal. Whatever resonates for you it feels more exciting for you to create. For me, what resonates for me is to make what I want normal. Normal. It shouldn't be this thing. And if there is a high peak of emotional, happiness, I understand that in my opinion as well. That's not going to be what makes me happy at the end of the day. Feelings of happiness are not what's going to make me truly feel happy, which when I say happy, I mean true peace. I believe true peace comes from that connection to your spirit, to your source, to that sense that you exist and holding that while you go through your life. That's what's going to make your thoughts more powerful. If you come from a true value of valuing your state of consciousness, that's what's going to make your thoughts more powerful. I think that your manifestation power, your life force energy gets much higher, much more powerful when you actually value the place that you're coming from and the energy of how you're doing things and the person that you're being, instead of just, I want the result now. Short-term gratification. You want to be a little bit more long-term focused. Delayed gratification. Who do you have to become, and are you committed to that regardless of how long it takes? It might take a day, it might take 2 days, it might take multiple weeks, months, years. Are you going to be able to commit to that identity even if the external world doesn't show it? Even if things don't at first seem like it's who you are, with consistency, with action, with discipline, with staying in your discomfort zone, as we showed in the chart earlier. When you stay connected to that, what you're essentially programming yourself to do is to be in a state of transformation and not create the same results over and over, and actually become the person that you actually want to be in your life, not the person, again, that you believe that you have to be or that you feel like is something that you're forced to do. You can start to live your life by doing things that you actually want to do, again, instead of feeling like you have to do it.